Do you want to ask the question again?
Okay, yeah. So Laura's just going to tell us some of the struggles that she feels like she's up against in regards to sex and intimacy and her relationship with her husband, and how to increase, any struggles she's having with just increasing that energy and passion in her life in general.
Okay, so I think what I've come up with, and it's been pretty much consistently throughout our whole marriage, is just that it's just inconsistent. I don't like how there's, we try, to be intimate. At least our goal is 3 times a week, and usually it's twice a week, and so it's hard to, make room for that, I guess, when twice is even kind of like, not pushing it, but that's even hard to make a commitment to. But I don't know, I guess sometimes I'm tired, I don't feel sexy, or I'd rather just cuddle. And we do have a lot of intimacy as far as in that sense goes, but then I don't want to have sex, I just want to cuddle. I don't know how to explain it. It's more about the connection than the sex for me. But for him, I know that that's important. So.
Yeah, it is. That is a really important piece for women, and versus men. It is a bigger priority for women to feel understood emotionally and connected to first. And if if that need is met, then they open up more sexually. But it is actually just the opposite for men. And so they will open up emotionally to you if you are more intimate with them and you allow yourself to get in that sensual, romantic mood with them. Then after that whole intimate experience, they open up emotionally is usually the tendency for men. And why the good Lord created us that way, I do not know. Because it feels like we're just totally opposites from each other. But I like to think, I like to think that it's for a good reason, that it keeps things in balance, because if we were both just wired the same way, where we just only wanted the physical, and that was the primary response of that need there, then that emotional connection that's actually very beneficial and helpful for the man, that oftentimes they can overlook that part. And same for us, like that physical connection and how that actually bonds us and brings us together with our partner, having that sexual intimacy, the way that helps you to co-create together in life. And you intermingle your energies together when you do that. And so I think that there's a really good reason for that. It also can create, we can create some really fun stories around, well, why does he just want sex? Why can't he just, want to talk and snuggle and connect? Or he can make up the story, well, my gosh, why does she just want to talk? Or, sometimes the girls just want to talk for a long time, and the guys they just want to have that intimate, close connection time, and they don't want to talk, so it can be hard for them. So I think all of us can relate to that, Laura. And I'll go into that a little bit more. Is there anything specifically for you, Brandy?
Well, besides not having sex in general right now, mostly one of my biggest concerns lately is I feel like I'm having a really hard time like opening up and being trusting with any part of me. And like when you were just talking about how our auras and our energies mingle when we get that intimate with somebody, that was really big for me. Like I was like, okay, I'm feeling a lot of fear in this right now. Because I really feel like with my ex-husband, I didn't open up with him, and I wasn't there. I wasn't trusting him because he wasn't trustworthy. And I don't know if that was a lot of what I put on him, or if it was just a lot of the whole thing of the entire situation, which was kind of rough and negative. But I have a really hard time trusting people with that part of me. And in fact, Because of that issue, it's the reason that my ex-boyfriend and I broke up, the last one I just had. And he was a really sweet guy and really good, but he wanted to be so close and so intimate all the time. And I was like, get away from me. So that's kind of where that was at. That's about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, the interesting thing about relationships is that closeness, that intimate time that we have with our partner and with anybody that we get in relationship with. So with you, Brandy, you're scared of opening up and being vulnerable and having somebody be so close to you. And it triggers all of these fear responses in us. Like, why would I be so damn scared? What in the past, why would I be scared of a guy being close to me? What am I afraid that's going to happen if he gets close? What's going to be so painful about that? You know, so you get to wonder into, what do I do to sabotage closeness? Because each one of us has our own unique things that we do to sabotage becoming close and intimate with anybody that we're in relationships. So specifically with your spouse or your partner, and with you, Brandy, being willing to open up, get curious and ask yourselves, how is it that I actually want exactly what I have right now? Why do I want exactly that? Why do I want my life and my intimate relationship to be exactly what it is right now? Because it boils down to that we're afraid to have anything different. We're afraid to experience anything more than what we're currently experiencing. And so then you could answer the question, what am I afraid of? And, you know, it's going to be unique and different for each person. But when you authentically answer those questions in the space of, I'm a creator, I am creating my life, my results, how I'm showing up right now. And I know that earlier when I talked to you, Brandy, you were talking about like it scared the crap out of you to think of commitment and committing to something 100%. Like if you're not 100% committed to something, you're the same as zero commitment because you're kind of waiting to let yourself off the hook. And yet it doesn't mean that if you're 100% committed, that resistance isn't going to come up. It absolutely is going to come up. But when you're 100% committed to something, you get back up and you don't buy into those. You're like, nope, I'm committed. I am in this for the long haul. This is what I'm committed to. And oftentimes, what is necessary to assist us in creating what we really want in our relationships and in our life is burning the bridges, burning the ties to things that are making it too easy, or that way out, that way for us to basically get off the island. So I don't know if you guys have heard the story about there's an army that was going to be attacked. And this general of this army said, if we don't win this, we are not, we're not getting off this island. We're not going home. And basically what he did was he burned all their ships. So they couldn't get off the island. They couldn't retreat and run away. They had to face the music. They had to do it. And essentially what the gentleman that shared this with me was, what are all the little things you have that you're waiting to, that they're like your excuses, they're like your favorite excuses. So identify and write down, what are my favorite excuses that I use in my life right now? It can be, I'm too tired, I'm too overwhelmed. It can be, oh, the kids this or that. Like the kids just, they take too much of my time. And so I just don't have the energy to give to my husband and my relationship. And so because of my kids and all this going on, I don't have the energy to give. And I don't want sex in the evenings because I'm just too tired. So what are your excuses? So write those down, because those are the little red flags that once you identify what those excuses are for you, when you say them and when you catch yourself in those excuses, that little red light will go off like, oh, this is actually an excuse. I've been buying into this my whole marriage. And I've been thinking that, well, if this or that wasn't there, then I would be able to have more alone time, or then I'd be able to go out on a date more, or have more sex, or have more of this energy and passion in my relationship. When the truth of it is you are having and experiencing exactly what you want right now. Anything more than that, you're actually afraid of having. And the way that you can move through that fear, and the way that you can actually create more, is to identify what you're afraid of. And then identify what the excuses are that you use. When that fear comes up, then those excuses come in the way, and you kind of just are on autopilot. Like, you know, you can come home from work and you can just be literally taking care of your life. And all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock and you're going, okay, wow, I have no energy to give to myself or my husband. See, my life, this is just my life. I'm too busy. Everything else is. So get familiar with what those are. And then I like to get curious as to, why would I be holding on to those excuses? What am I really afraid of? Am I afraid that, you know, my kids need me so much more? Like what are the fears? What is it really about? You know, why am I afraid of actually having sex and intimacy a lot with my husband? What's my fear around that? Am I afraid I'm going to become like a sex addict? like what's the fear? Like, it can sound really ridiculously silly, but there can be some honest fears that are in the back of our mind. Like, well, you know, sex is dirty, or, you know, if we have too much sex, then that's all he's going to want. And he's not going to see me and appreciate me for me and who I am. And he'll lose sight of the depth of our relationship. So what are those stories that are running in the background? And because we can change that. Those are things we can change, but we can't change them if we don't know what they are. They're just that subconscious programming, like I was talking to Brandy earlier. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just running in the background, and we're going through our life, and then we're, you know, come to the next day and we're going, okay, I really want to change this aspect of my life. Why do I keep creating this same pattern in my relationship, or in every new relationship? Why does this same thing keep coming up? And you can be married, you can be, you know, not married. I don't care. Whatever relationship that you're in with friends, but primarily with somebody that you're intimately in a relationship, those are the relationships that are going to show you the most about yourself. And, you know, of course your kids are going to show you, but your spouse, the person that you're in an intimate relationship with, the things that you're going to learn from that relationship, if you're open to it, really, 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 if you're committed to having nothing but open, honest, raw, vulnerable relationship, it will be completely nothing short of epic. Everything that you could possibly want in a relationship, if you're willing to be open, raw, and vulnerable with each other. Because when we hold back, when we're afraid to share how we really think and feel about anything. Anything. It can be like something you would think, oh, my husband, he would think I was totally psychotic if I shared this with him. Or, any of those types of things, they actually create barriers and walls between the people we're closest to. And they also, even if you consciously cannot, you don't think there's a wall or a barrier up, our spirits, like subconsciously, our spirits know if there is something, there's a secret, there's something the other person is not sharing with us. It can be like, well, I'm on a different path in life now. I think we'll just wait till our kids are older and then maybe we'll split. Because I want different things in life and I think you do too, but let's just stick this out for our kids. That kind of thing can be happening in your head for years before you say anything to your spouse. Or, I'm not really attracted to my husband anymore, but, I'm not going to say that to him. So those types of things that you think, oh, I would never say that. Those are the types of things that if you can learn how to communicate those things, they will create closeness in a way and to a depth that you can't create any other way. Because we are all human. We all have these judgments and these fears, and then we judge ourselves for having those thoughts. And everybody's doing the same thing, having all these thoughts and judgments, and, oh, I can't say that. No. Well, I'm thinking back in my Sunday school years when I was going to church and stuff, I remember hearing like, well, when you're in heaven, when you're around people in heaven, you're going to be able to know each other's thoughts all the time, like the different kind of communication. It won't be words. You'll just be able to know this all the time. And there was this, I can't remember there's like this scripture quote that goes with it that makes me think of this. But where I'm getting at with it is that why do we think we have to hide these parts of ourselves that we perceive to be these dark, unwanted thoughts or judgments? Because everybody has them. And by judging and hiding those parts of ourselves, we're judging ourselves and hiding ourselves from the world. Like, we're not really showing up authentically when we won't share what we truly think about somebody. So like in one of the other groups that I coach in, it's a co-ed group, and everybody in there has their businesses. And we're there to give raw, open, authentic feedback to each other. And as one of the coaches in there, it's interesting to see how in that group forum, everybody at one time or another has this idea that it's not safe to share how they really feel and who they really are, and they'll be judged for it and all this. And part of what I love to do in the work that I'm doing with that group and with you ladies, and that I want to create more of, is bringing in more and more women into a platform that will allow everybody to be completely open and vulnerable and feel and see how it is to be totally seen exactly how they are. It's like, hey, I don't believe in God. Hey, I'm a lesbian. Hey, I think this, or hey, I think that. Like, I don't care what you think about anything. Or hey, I don't like Black people. You know what? If there's a Black person in my women's group and someone else thinks that, cool. I want to hear it, because you know what it brings up? It brings up these parts of themselves that they've judged, and they're holding back their love from the world and from themselves. And so anyways, this whole topic of vulnerability will open up this energy in your body, this stagnation that happens, that squelches your creativity and passion, and it squelches your sex drive, because you're not really allowing the energy to flow through you uninhibited. You're continually putting these little dampers on any of these little thoughts and feelings. And so being willing, like a child, will just come in the room, or they'll be sitting there and they'll say, like my son, he'll be like, Mom, you have saggy boobs. Or like my little tiny boy, you know what I mean, without my bra on. Like, Mom, your boobs are saggy. I'm like, cool, thanks. You know, and you just think, oh gosh, why did they say that? And I'm not talking about, you know, say things where you really just, you know, embarrass somebody right in public. But I'm saying, you know, in your relationships, can you speak how you really truly think and feel in a way that's unarguable, where you can just speak what's going on for you and say, hey, what I notice right now is I am having this judgment right now that I can't love you fully, and I can't open myself up fully because you're going to just want sex all the time if I were to really open up and allow myself to be as intimate as you want to be. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. But you see how you open up the conversation in a way where you're talking from your experience. Hey, you know, this is how I'm feeling. I notice I really want more connection and more amazingness in our relationship. And when I think about creating more sex, more intimacy, these are the fears that come up for me. And I'm afraid that, go ahead, Lara. Oh, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think what the vulnerability thing, I feel like, yes, sex does put you in a very vulnerable place. I've been married for 15 years, so it's not the vulnerability so much anymore as it is trying to, keeping it fun and keeping it interesting. And honestly, I feel like we have amazing sex when we're both a little drunk or something, you know, where we're just uninhibited and we're not parents at this moment. I'm not student. He's not manager. It's just, we're just two people in love, and all we're focusing on is each other. I think what I feel like I need healing with, you know, and how it does heal you and how it does make you more vulnerable. This is the part where I feel like I struggle with, is that when we were separated, you know, I was with somebody else for a few months, and I think that now I'm in love with him again, and I'm attracted to him again, and we're in a place like it's new again and it's fun again, but kind of also in this part of me, I feel like I've hurt him, you know, and so I'm trying to heal past that now, and that's something that I guess I'm still struggling with. I feel guilty, and so I just feel like, we've talked about it, and it's not so much like I feel bad for what happened, because I feel like what happened was actually a good thing, and I'm glad that we didn't get divorced. It could have happened very easily, but I think what's happening now is that we're kind of redefining our relationship and trying to move forward and not look back, but back is so much of who we are now, you know, the old way, and now we're doing things the new way. And we said, you know, okay, if we come back to this marriage and we fix this marriage, it's going to be different. And that was something that we said right away. We said, we're going to have sex. Like, no more of this, like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks with no sex. Like, that's just not okay. And so that was one thing that we committed to, was we're going to have sex every single week, 2 to 3 times a week. And so we've been pretty good about it. There's some weeks, you know, where we're out of town or stuff happens, and that's fine. But how do I get to the point where, I guess, like, yes, we're in a vulnerable place, but how do I get to a point where it's not obligatory and it's like fun again, and where it's not just something that we committed to do, but where it's something that we want to do, to be together without having to be drunk, or without having, the kids are at sleepovers or something, like to carve that time out for us. I mean, our kids' rooms are like right there all the time, so it's not like, maybe we could go out to the car in the garage or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where to go from here. So I guess I'm asking for help on how to heal what was broken is now fixed, but how do we keep it so that we don't go back to the old ways?
Yeah, totally. So there's a few ideas, and I do know that in video 6, which you haven't watched yet, there's some really great suggestions on how to incorporate the 5 senses and how to spice things up. And I'm not sure how you've experienced that, Brandy, but I know that when I take and I try to include as many senses as I can in the experience, and if each one of you guys will commit to, hey, I'm in charge of creating one experience this week that I initiate, and I'm going to include some fun things to make this experience really fun. And so, like, I've gotten a playlist of music, so I'm including the sounds, the ears, and then I'm also including a visual because I'll dance. Like, if I'm the one that's doing it, like, I'm creating the mood with the music. I'm creating the mood with some smells. Like, I'm going to pick a candle that smells really good to me. And I will just say, hey, I'm going to create something really fun tonight for us. Can you help the kids clean up the kitchen and stuff while I get things ready in the bedroom? And then he's all excited. He's like, cool, heck yeah, I'm out here helping the kids, get all ready for bed and everything like that. Because he knows I'm preparing something that's fun. And it's got my spin on it. It's got my twist. It's like I'm being creative, doing something that is, and you just mix it up. There's been times where I'm like, hey, I have so-and-so watching our kids, and I have a room for us at the hotel that's down the road. You know what I mean? And I do that every couple of months, 2 or 3 months, just because it gets you out of your environment. It spices things up, and it's $100 usually. I mean, give or take. But to do that every few months and to not be far from home, and to do it sporadically, and they get that surprise. And then you check into the room and you've got some little treats that are there, and you change into something kind of sexy, and you just have fun. And you don't have anybody in the house around you giving you distractions. So that kind of a thing is really a big turn on and spice things up for your guy. Like, that has been such a huge thing for Kyle. He's just like, totally, they're not expecting it. It's not like they're the one planning it and paying for it or anything like that. Like, yeah, you are still budgeting and sharing money together, but you're the one who went and reserved the room, and you got it all set up, and that's really cool to do for them. But yeah, including those senses in there and deciding, what do I want the mood of it to be like tonight? I've also included, when it's my turn, I'll decide, hey, is this going to be a really fun, like kind of more of a rowdy, like fun experience? Or is this going to be a more soft, sensual, like, am I going to massage him? And am I going to do a lot of the giving this time? And so if I'm, depending on what mood I'm in when I'm creating it, then I'll decide, and I'll pull out massage oils and massage him and make it more of it about giving to him, pampering him. And then when it's his turn, like, he might be in the mood to just totally be giving more to me and be in the space of just giving me a lot of massage and touch, and it's his deal, right? And other times he's a really funny guy. Like, he'll come up with these really crazy ideas, but it's his thing that helps me to kind of be a little surprised too. And I get to see a little bit of the flair of how his take on things and his personality and how he would create an experience that we get to share in together. So I know that has been the best thing for my marriage. I've been married now for 15 years as well, so I know what you mean. And but literally scheduling that in, we've had to do, because our schedules with all 5 of our kids, if you just leave it up to, oh, I'll just make it happen this week, it doesn't happen. Like, you can have, it'll happen, but it will be just kind of a quick spur of the moment thing that's, you know, it's intimate experience and it's sex and it's great connection, but it does not have the same overall fulfillment and connection where you really get to build the relationship that you have to that whole new level. That's fun, because our lives oftentimes are just too serious with mom responsibilities, and, you know, like you're going to school and they're out working and they come home, and if you just are just going to bed and you just have sex, it's just like another thing that's in your daily routine. And if you don't have it scheduled into your week where, hey, I'm doing it this night, but you have no idea what I'm doing, this is up to me, it gives some sense of surprise where they're not coming into, well, same old thing, same old week, same old schedule. Just know that during the week, I mean, I think for all of us, we kind of know the best days of the week to schedule these things that are the most open for our families, you know, and preferably one day during the week and one day during the weekend, you know, if you're going to, you know, depending on what you want to commit to in your relationship, and say, hey, let's for sure each of us pick. And I like to alternate it. So I don't like to always be the one that's doing it during the week or him doing it on the weekend. So I'll say, okay, this week I'm going to do it someday during the week. I know what day it is. I'm not going to tell you. And then will you pick a day during the weekend that works best, and you surprise me with that. And if anything happens above that, cool. So that's been really fun. Okay, hang on. There we go.
I'm just going to interject super quick. Something fun that my ex-husband and I used to do. We would pick a day that we had time, that the kids were watched or whatever, and we would decide to do something like the craziest place you could think of to go and have sex without getting a ticket. And we would go and do that. And that was so much fun. Yeah. Because there was theater one time. That's all I'm saying. Oh, it was fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something to kind of incorporate or think about, because I had a lot of fun with that, you know.
Yep. And you know what? I've heard that from many people, and, you know, my husband said the same thing. Let's do something that's like totally out of the ordinary. It just really spices things up. Like when we're driving home from a movie or something, like if it's good weather, we're like, hey, let's go on this drive up this canyon right here. Or, you know, it just makes things fun, you know, like you're just teenagers just running off, and it's just fun. So you really got to take time to slow down and do those kinds of things and just be in love with each other. The other thing, I wanted to find, okay, before I go off of the whole vulnerability thing, I do want to share one more thing on that, because I know that, you know, in our marriages, we do know so much about our partner, and we think, oh, there's nothing new for me to share. He knows everything about me. I know everything about him. Well, that's true on one level, but there's always things that come up in our lives, and there's change that happens. And if we don't share what's really truly going on in those changes, it can be how we think spiritually, it can be how we our goals and desires that we want, things can change for us. And if we don't share those things, then we put up these walls because, well, I'm afraid of sharing this change, because I know she really wants this certain car, or I know she really wants this certain vacation or move to happen, and I don't anymore. Well, I can't share it because I'll hurt her feelings or whatever. There's always things to share. So I wanted to read this to you. It says, if there is any significant truth you haven't communicated to your primary partner, you forfeit the right to expect a good relationship with him or her. Most people don't realize this simple principle. So when things aren't going well in a relationship, they look to the other person as the source of what's wrong. If you don't feel sexually turned on to your partner, or if you're having trouble getting a good night's sleep, you're likely to have a withheld truth that needs communicating. And here are the most popular examples from couples that we've worked with, okay? I've had a sexual experience I haven't told you about. I've spent money you don't know about. I've got blank and I haven't told you about it. I'm still angry about such and such. I'm still hurt or scared about such and such. Or I really want such and such and I'm afraid to tell you. So, most people tell us that they're afraid to be honest with their partner because my partner doesn't really want to hear the truth, or because, I don't want to hurt their feelings. When they get under these, superficial reasons, the reasons usually turn out to be, I haven't told the truth because I don't want to face the consequences. And underneath this is the real reason. I haven't told you the truth because I fear living at the highest level of energy and creativity. And lying is one way I've learned that will reliably dampen my energy. And it's just simply withholding. And, on the positive side, people dread telling the truth because they fear the consequences. But in actual fact, we've only seen positive consequences in the long run for being honest. There's usually a short-term flurry or an upset that happens, but, ultimately the outcome is usually a more stable and higher functioning relationship that happens. So there's an acid test you guys can take. So this is the question. So the best question to assess is the better word, the health of a relationship is there any significant truth about me or my primary relationship that I've talked to a third party, a friend, a minister, a therapist about that I haven't talked directly to my partner about? So, and if you have, those are the things that you want to talk to your partner about. And of course, don't do it while you're, driving or, anything like that, if there's something significant. Don't use liquor or other drugs to loosen yourself up beforehand, because really this sends the wrong message to your body that you can't be honest unless you're chemically altered. And our bodies need to know that they can be honest all the time. So don't think it has anything to do with the other person either, because if you've been thinking the other person isn't safe or doesn't want to hear it, then you're completely missing the point. Like really it's about you and that fear of living at the highest level of energy that you possibly can. And so when it comes to sex and energy and passion, it always boils down to a significant, and it can even be, you can also think it's not a significant truth that you're withholding. And now remember, a truth is something that cannot be argued with. So when you share something that cannot be argued with is, I feel sad about such and such. I haven't told you that I still feel angry about such and such. That is unarguable. They can't come back and say, well, no, you don't feel sad or angry about that. Yeah, I do. Like, I feel very sad in my body. Like when I think about this, when I think about what happened in this circumstance, I still feel really sad. And I haven't shared that with you because I thought that, we've talked about it and we're past it, but I still notice that it comes up and that it's there. And I feel like I just need to talk about this and address this more with you. And so by sharing those things that we think, oh, I've already dealt with that and he knows all these things about me. If it's something that continues to take up space in your mind and in your energy consistently, and it doesn't have to be all the time, but it can be something that creeps in your mind that is just like, oh, that's not a big deal, and you kind of push it to the side. Those little things, if they're not talked about, they eat up your energy. And it can be also things that you haven't talked with other people about, friends or family, grandparents. I know that I had an issue with my dad a couple of months ago, and I just kept thinking, oh, not a big deal. And it actually was a big deal, because when I was talking to a friend and I was doing some emotional reading, and she's like, you have a major energy leak happening. And I breathed into it, and I'm like, is it with my dad? And we breathed, and we both got, yes, it's totally with my dad. And it saps your energy. So I immediately, after I left my friend's house, I called my dad and I said, you know what, Dad, I feel I have this total energy sap happening, that like you're mad at me and I'm mad at you, and there's something we get to talk about. And we did. We just talked on the phone for like 20 minutes. And I told him that I forgive you for the way that you talked that one time. And please forgive me if you think that I don't have time for you, or I don't love you anymore and I'm just too busy. It's like our parents, sometimes as they get older, they think, oh, our kids are just too busy now, and they go on with their lives and they don't have time for me anymore. But this was a real energy drain, because he was really angry. And you don't realize that we are all connected. Our energy is connected with the people on this planet. And if you want more energy throughout your day and to be able to give to yourself and your family and your relationship, then just get curious. Is there some conversations that I can have? If so, write those down and make a note to have those conversations over the next couple of weeks. Who are those people? And recruit your husband in on this. And say, hey, like, let's get more energy and passion and excitement in our lives. Let's have those hard conversations that are draining our energy. And let's communicate with our parents. Like, I know that Joe's parents aren't as close with you guys. And, Joe may have some real sadness and anger around that. I know Joe's parents personally. They're great people. And I know that for you, Laura, and for him, that as we want to just be grown up about it. And we want to say, well, that's their thing, and I'm just going to move on with my life. But it does affect us if we allow it to, if we don't complete on the conversation, if we don't talk to our parents, talk to these people and say how we really feel, the unarguable truth, not you're a jerk, why do you do this to me, not that projection, blame stuff, but having a real conversation where you say, you know what, I just realized that I feel this emptiness and this sadness, and because I love and value you as my parents, and I feel like that there's such a loss in my life since I haven't been connected to you, and it drains my energy, and I feel sad, and I don't show up for my family, I think, as much as I could, because that's kind of in the background, and it just really saps my energy, and you don't even realize, but when you have multiple things like that all piled on top of each other, then it affects you, it affects your health, and then you really can't perform physically, sexually, any of that to the level that you really could if you go have those conversations and complete on those. Either of you guys have any other questions? That my mind's going to appreciations. Those are so powerful. Is there any other questions though before I share this quick last piece on appreciation that I wanted to share with you guys? Is there any questions that you have on any of it?
No, I think you definitely touched on some stuff about talking about your personal truths, about what makes you sad. I think that sometimes it's hard to admit the things that are running through your head because you don't want to burden them with it. But I realize that it is important for them to know so that they can understand where you're coming from and help you through whatever you need help with. So
it is. And every time I've had a conversation
and
like that, it's like we have sex that night. Because it opens up this vulnerability, this conversation where you feel understood by them and they feel like you shared a piece with them that they are all of a sudden going, oh, okay, well, it makes sense now when you say that. Oh, okay, I can see. Because sometimes they wonder, why is she acting a little off? Or, you know, you can even think the same thing about him. Why is something just feels a little bit off? He says he's not mad, you know, but you can just tell something. Just it can be little. Sometimes it's big, and they just keep it to themselves. But that affects your relationship and your ability to connect.
Yeah.
So authenticity. It's honesty is the best aphrodisiac and sleep aid. And, you know, sometimes we can think, well, I don't know how to communicate it in a way that's not going to create an argument. And if you think, and if that's your fear of, oh, I've got to hold back and not share because I'm afraid that he's going to take it wrong, then you share that before you even start the conversation. You say, you know what? I want to share these things, and I've been afraid to share them because I'm afraid you're going to take them personally, and I'm afraid that you're going to think I'm like mad at you and I'm attacking you or anything like that. And so I've held these things in for a long time, but what I'm realizing is I want you to know all of these things about me that I've been really withholding and talking to other people about because I haven't wanted to burden you. And I want you and I to be able to communicate about everything and really create that intimacy and closeness. And I want you to share completely open and honest with me everything that's going on for you. And we can go into creative tossing on another one of these trainings because it really is a skill to develop, and I call it the art of the toss, because our communications, when we're having a conversation with somebody, it really is an art to learn how to recognize each other's energy in the relationship, in that conversation. And if we dominate the conversation, then we're really not valuing who they are and what they have to say. And just really learning how to communicate in a way that invites them to open up and share versus close off and not want to share. So we can do that at a different time because there's a lot to that. But just know that just by sharing that, share what your fears are, share what's authentic for you, share from a space of what is unarguable. So truth is that which cannot be argued with. There's no arguing about it. Yeah, I feel all this heaviness in my chest, and I feel so, so sad when I think about such and such. That's truth. Nothing to be argued about there. And so just speak from a space of what your current experience is and how you feel, but not in you pointing the finger language. It's always, I notice I'm having this experience. This is how I feel when I think about what happened and this whole experience. I just feel angry. I feel just all this tension in my shoulders and all this anger that's just built up right now because I don't know how to handle this and how to resolve this. And it provides a safe environment for them to feel like they are willing to open up and create a solution with you and come closer with you instead of back up and back away. And then when you have that conversation and you come to resolution about something, or they put their arm around you and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you still felt so sad about that. And I just, I really appreciate hearing that. And I love you. All of a sudden, like you just communicating something that's very special or important for you. And it shows your concern and love for them. And now you're like all in the mood. And I've experienced it too many times. So it's awesome. All right. I think, oh, the last thing right here is what I wanted to share. So in regards to your energy and your passion, I wanted to share this last thing. So we all have these areas in our life that that create the most energy for us in our lives. And the areas that create the most energy for us in our lives and in terms of like our vocation and our work are the things that we are absolutely genius at, that we would do whether we got paid or not. When you do those things, you feel energized. So anytime I get done doing a training with you girls, like I'm energized. I'm like, I would just do this all the time. I love it. It gives me energy. And so when you think about, hey, why don't I have the energy and passion in my life that I want? Another question that you can ask yourself that very much is connected to how you show up in your intimate life. So like if you look at your spouse and you think, are they doing what they really love that lights them up? If they're not, the same energy that they're going to come home to you in is not going to be as high. They're going to come home more drained than they are filled. So yeah, physically, we're going to get up and we're going to have a little less energy by the end of the day than in the beginning because we've just gone out and expended a bunch of energy. But emotionally, our work should fulfill us and energize us. And if it's not, then that also can create this energy and just emotion about us that's just kind of like, day in, day out, just kind of doing what needs to be done, but not really doing what I really love. Can you see a little kid walking around, like this little 5-year-old boy? Think of your kids at the stage of being a 5-year-old. How would they be if every day they did things that they didn't really love to do? Just things that they felt like they had to do day in and day out. If they really wanted to go play at the park and play a game of football, they couldn't do it. They had to go, they had to sweep the porch, and then they had to walk with their little brother down to the corner and play basketball with their little brother. And they don't really like basketball, but this is what they have to do. They have to tend their little brother and they have to play basketball with them to help them out. But what they really want that gives them the most energy is playing tag football. But they can never do it. They can never do all these little things that they want to do. So can you see how like a child, they would have this like sad energy kind of if they were always doing things that to please other people and to kind of do things to help out, but it's not what they really love to do. And so look at yourself and ask yourself, how can I, in my day-to-day life, how can I include and become more aware of what is it that I really love to do, and how can I honor myself? How can I step into doing things I absolutely love to do and encourage the other people around me to do what they love to do as well? And so oftentimes we can actually get stuck in our zone of excellence. So we can be really excellent at something, and yet, so a good question to ask is, what do I persist in doing that I can do better than most others? So you're really excellent at it, but it's really not your genius, but you do it because you can make money at it. You can do it really well. You're excellent at it, but it's not your zone of genius. So your zone of genius, you'll ask questions like, what is my unique ability? What do I most love to do? What produces the highest ratio of abundance per time spent? And what work do I do that doesn't seem like work? Those are the questions you can ask that help you discover like what's your zone of genius that you would want to, move more into. And unfortunately, The majority of the population is incompetent area, and they're competent areas. So they're spending, what do I persist in doing that others can do better than me? What am I no good at and that I don't enjoy? But they do it anyways, day in, day out, day in, day out. I'm no good at it, but I just continue to do it. So maybe like your accounting and your taxes and your bookkeeping, you totally hate it. There's people that are way better at it than you. So we just handed all of ours over to a bookkeeper, an accountant and a bookkeeper that does all of it. And that frees up so much energy to only spend your time doing what you love to do. So if you can do trades in any way, you know, like, hey, I love cleaning my house on a Saturday, but I don't love to do my bathrooms. Or maybe you don't love to clean at all. And somebody else, like, they have a cleaning business, they love it. And maybe they hate to cook. Maybe you love to cook. So maybe it's like, hey, I'll make you some dinner meals, and I love to cook. I'll make extra. If you wouldn't mind coming over like once a week when my kids get home and just doing my bathrooms and this one thing. And they're like, sweet, cool. I love cleaning other people's houses, you know? And so think about ways that you can let go of doing things that you don't love to do and spending more of your time doing things, only the things that you love to do. And it takes time. It takes years to slowly get rid of and recruit help and, you know, do some trades and just get more and more committed to doing things that you love. And I definitely know that when my husband first started going into the mentoring and coaching industry, and I could see this light, this passion in his whole countenance that was such a turn on for me. Like to see him like just coming through the door, like just so fulfilled and excited about people who he'd worked with that day and their businesses and what he'd done. It was like, there's something about that confidence that like, I made a difference and I'm doing what I love that is attractive. It's not attractive to be like, do I really want to have sex with somebody who's kind of like, you know, that's not sexy. That's not like invigorating. The whole experience of having sex with somebody is like uplifting. It's energizing. And if that person and their energy does not seem like it's going to uplift you or add to your physical energy and spiritual energy, then you're going to have a really hard time like getting in the mood. And so all of these things, you know, they contribute to, you know, to us really being able to maximize the experience of intimacy and energy and passion in our lives. So it's a lot to think about. I look forward to hearing how you guys take and implement this stuff into your marriages and your relationships. And this, let's see, today's Thursday. You girls that are on the call, I would love for you guys to post in the group just something about this training, what's landed for you that you feel like is going to make the biggest difference for you. Maybe you have a conversation tonight with a good friend or your husband, and you can see how making one certain decision differently is going to make a really big difference. I'm sure there's at least one or two things from this training that you're realizing, oh gosh, this is going to make a really big difference if I do this one thing. I would love it if you would share that one thing that's going to make the biggest difference for you in the group. And those of you that are watching this later at a different time, if you could do the same thing, that would be awesome. And we can all learn from each other and even get a little bit more dialogue happening throughout the weekend over this. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. The last thing that I want to just mention, just logistically really quick, that I did mention with Brandy, is that I'm changing Thrive Academy to be a little bit different. So I know that you girls, when you first joined with me, that it's like basically $1,000 program, and you guys have paid at different, I've worked out payments for you guys differently. But the way that I'm structuring it now is I'm ready to open it up so I'm able to serve a lot more women. And so the way that I'm going to structure this is so that anybody that comes into this program, instead of having to basically like pay bigger chunks of money up front, anybody who's new that comes in, it's going to be $197 to join in the group.
Okay.
And then $97 a month after that for a year contract. Because this is just in my evaluation of what I've been doing over the last couple years and what's supporting the moms the best, and financially what's feeling best for them, that's not strapping them down, but still able to provide support for a long enough period of time where they can really integrate everything. So what I'm offering is that they pay $197 down and then $97 a month for a year. And then, basically everybody is going to have access to the once a week call. I don't care if there's 15 or 20 people on the call. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because, even if I can only get to 5 of you, every one of us are going through so much of the same thing. And I just did a training last week. You girls weren't on it, but I did it in the free group that I offer. I just did a training, and I had 8 women that were on this call, and all 8 of these women, I didn't get to helping all of them. But at the end of it, I went to all the other ones that I didn't talk to, and they're like, nope, I'm good. I got everything I needed from you helping such and such and such and such person. And by only really getting to 4 people, every single person felt like they had gotten plenty of breakthroughs. So I want to structure it in a way where financially it's very doable for anybody. And then the other thing I wanted to let you girls know about is, if you guys refer somebody to me that you're like, hey, I'm going to refer so-and-so, if they sign up, I'm going to give you your next month free. So it's $97 a month. So say your friend comes in and she's like, yes, I want to do this. And she signs up and pays the $197 and she's part of our program now. Then next month you won't pay anything. I'll give you the next month for free for that referral. So, because I'm in a space now where I feel like I've been doing this long enough. I'm getting things structured now where I'm ready to just have more women be a part of this. And I don't want it to be a stress for them financially. And so over time, I think that's going to be the very best. So I just wanted to let you girls know about that. And so once a week. Oh, the other thing, I'm going to change the training time. The weekly call has usually been at 11:30 on Tuesdays. I want to do an evening call.
That would be so good.
So Marcy wants that.
What day?
Tuesday or Thursday. I would prefer Tuesday because it's earlier in the week. And then, but either one could work. Really either one could work. But I like the beginning of the week more. And it's not closer to the weekend, where people go on vacation or whatever. Sometimes they'll leave on a Thursday.
Yeah.
But Tuesday seems like one of those days where, it's not like sometimes Monday family night. Some people have that, and Tuesday night, usually you have your kids are home from school and, kids, you can grab a quick bite to eat. And my thought is to do a 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay.
Some people that would be 5:30. Like my sister, that would be 5:30 for her, but 7:30 for the other girls that are over in the East. But still, you can grab a quick bite, and then Dad and the kids can eat. And they just know that night is Mom's night. And
that'd be cool.
And even if you have to leave and go to a coffee shop and get away from home and do it someplace away from the house, then cool. That's your night out.
Yeah.
You get to leave the house for a couple hours. Go find a quiet spot. So that's my thought.
Are we going to start that next Tuesday?
Yes. I want to
start starting next week? Okay.
Yes, next week. Because then, like Marcy hasn't hardly been able to get on. Brandy hasn't been able to get on. And the other girls that are looking at joining back in that I worked with before, I've been talking to them about when our training is done at 11:30, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure. And I'm just like, you know what, let's just do an evening. Let's just make it a girls' evening call. And everybody's like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. So plan on that for next Tuesday at 6:30.
Okay.
And really quick, I missed what you said about you wanted us to post like just a takeaway from this training or like an important conversation we have. Or?
No, just what is the one thing as you think about this training? What's the one thing that you feel like that is going to support you the most from this training that you could implement in your life? That's really going to serve you the most.
Okay.
Awesome.
That makes sense.
Okay. It's been awesome. And we'll do one of these a month too. So for the 97 a month, it's going to be, we're going to do a training like this where I'm going to teach you guys we're going to just dive into a topic and I'm going to teach you. It's not going to be a bunch of like breakthrough personally for you guys, but it's just going to be helping to train on different skills. And that'll be once. Okay.
You.
All right. Ladies.
Okay.
You guys
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
I don't know how